Hello, hello, hello to the audience, wherever on a day, in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Mohammed Shillon coming to you now from this great state of North Carolina, USA. I have a co-host who joins me in making this presentation from the county of Surrey, England, who needs no introduction, but he will do his own self-introduction. And so today is Sunday, September 17th, 2023. And as usual, we hope when we listen, regular listeners as well as new listeners, we hope when I go participate because this is a participatory. This is the way we call them. If in English, man, I would say it's a participatory, but Americans would say participatory discussions program is presented live. So anywhere you did, you can call in from wherever you did for calling and make some contributions, either in terms of comments or suggestions, and you can do it both by calling in the numbers of which I'll give in a few seconds, or you can send written comments. Then we are carried on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. So there are many ways. YouTube. So there are many ways when I able for reach we. Now that said, we'll get some phone numbers then we can always announce, which I want for people pay attention to. And that is, if you're calling from North America, which includes the United States, Mexico, and Canada, you may call on the WhatsApp line, which is on the toll-free line. It will cost you nothing by calling 1-866-944-7722. 1-866-944-7722. If you're calling from North America, we include Mexico, United States, and Canada. Beyond them point a day, if you call on the toll-free line, it might cost you money if you not belong to one of them areas than they were just named. If you are calling from the United Kingdom, we also get a number that you can call in on, which may not cover the entire United Kingdom, but we do know, say, it cover like London and some other areas. And that is plus 44 20 80 89 1455. Plus 44 20 80 89 1455. Likewise, if you're calling from Australia, they also get a local number where you can call from without having to spend money on international call, but it may not work for the entire Australia, but it works for certain areas. So you wait to make the call, now you go make that determination there. Depending on your location in Australia, that number is plus 61 29 09 84 337. Plus 61 29 09 84 337. Now, we also get a WhatsApp number. If you call in a WhatsApp, which would be applicable to almost everyone, regardless of where you are, it will be 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. We also get a local radio station, now Freetown, which at the moment, you can only hear it in the eastern part of Freetown. There may come a time when we go here in the entire western area or the entire Freetown. But for right now, the number or the radio station is 91.9 FM. 91.9 FM. So these are some of the medium through which on are able for reachway. So today's topic is going to be part 2 of what will be discussed last week. And that's going to be the thing about the Constitution and the reviewing the Constitution, and just to broaden some of the discussions then we'll get. We involve many subheadings, but instead of going into all the subheadings, then I would just say the general thing is the review of the Constitution, governance, and local government, and we'll go from there. That said, I want to pass on over to my co-host, Mr. Victor Magot, who will also elaborate on what we have to talk about and introduce himself as usual, and we'll go from there. So, Mr. Mengot, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Mohamed Shilon. As usual, our partner, me and Victor Akut, joining you live from the county of Surrey in the southeast of England. And one share experience with you today and all one gets it. Last week, as in, we talked the constitutional review process, and we look at the issue. There are people who will say, "Why now?" Because we get some people that will say, "Why is it now that we're doing the constitutional review?" Because at the same time, we're also looking at the review of a major agency in our country, when at the ECSL, Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, we go feature some of the parts. But for letting understand today on broadcast, as we know, we normal Sunday broadcast, we look at social media review. So then 3 topics here they will choose. Nothing that we don't, they trend in our social media, 2 people and they talk about. And it relates to 2 things: the governance of the country. And when you talk about governance, you talk about the Constitution, where the Constitution, neither like the Bible and the Quran or the Torah of everything we get with the country. So we will continue to review waiting happen this now social media. And we will want enough for participate, and we will suggest ways them of how we look at that issue here. Because we always talk about which is Parliament and the legislature and the executive. But today, we focus more on the 2 arms. Because I think the last review, we spend a lot of time looking at the judiciary. We bring the Camaremba case. We talk about citizens' right, access to justice. So this week, what will they discuss within the 2 arms of government, when are the executive and the legislature? And what they talk about the executive this term, we look at in relationship between local and central government. So for this program, Parliament is very important. We all know what's in the happen at Parliament now. Now, one set of representation we get from one party. We are not here to debate the merit of that, because that is what is happening. And then they come about as the PR system. But one look at a recent announcement where they make say Parliament get staff that did. And then say there was no order for blame, nobody know and take the blame. But so for start, we start with this video, we'll analyze why the Parliament staff and why they want to reduce them, and what we self will do and know how we will staff Parliament for make it serve the people and better. So in our law, we all list lady when I am the director in charge the Parliament.
The parliamentary services say we overboard. They decide that the meeting say they get for reduced staff, they get for redundancy of staff because we overboard.
In name na Finda Fraser, Director General na the Saloon Parliament, and also he been boss the talk na door for confirm say the Saloon Parliament they about for sack but 137 workman them from different departments them na Parliament. And this message come just after we Parliament don't go recess, after we MP them been don't start sitting for sake of the 6th Parliament of the Second Republic. Madam Fraser not been waste time for say although in a Director General of Parliament not to from this decision come up from, but say the Clerk of Parliament parentarily bring this message from the Parliamentary Service Commission say Parliament workman them too plenty na different departments them, so they need for reduce them, and this for happen now. But who that them dey na the Parliamentary Service Commission? This na group of leader them na the Saloon Parliament, where Parliament give authority by law for take decision them we get for do with the running of the Parliament, and the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Dr. Abbas Cherno Bundu, na the head of the Parliamentary Service Commission, and the Clerk of Parliament and the Secretary to him. Now, after 2018 election, the SLPP party been take over, and this na time the Saloon Parliament been open plenty domot them for employ people them na the Saloon Parliament. According to some source them, the Parliament employed na different departments them more people them than even the Parliament been need, like the office of Sergeant at Arms for example. Before now, na just one person been dey serve as Sergeant at Arms, where they tote the mace for the Speaker of Parliament and guide them during sitting them. But now Parliament gets up to 3 or more people where they work in this department as Sergeant at Arms, and them come just after 2018. This type of employment for double people or even pack people na different departments them more than waiting the Parliament need. Now one way you go see na almost all department them na Parliament, and na this current Parliament we want sack them so now been bring them. No wonder even the Director General of Parliament say this na mistake where Parliament been do for overemploy them people them
Well, maybe that was an oversight, because for them for can realize now say this number is too buckle, we need for reducer. I should say that'll be an oversight to them, and they don't realize say well we overboard, we just get for reduce some stuff.
But apart from the overemployment we Parliament been don't do, plenty people believe say plenty of them workman them we Parliament been come hard for employ. Now people with authority them na Parliament sabi and want for get job. Now according to information from the Director General of Parliament, the sacking get for be from all the 15 departments them. We mean say the Parliament be don't put plenty people in different departments them more than the number we Parliament need.
Well, according to the clerk, they don't give them the message verbally, and notice will come out to them very soon. The staff all man will get the notice right from the clerk, deputy clerk, calm down. All man will get the notice. Me said will get the notice, so nobody not going to be left out. Everybody will get a notice day. And at least according to the chairman, or if I don't give 3 more notice to staff, so I think that will be fulfilled. That part of the chairman will be fulfilled, because by the end of the year, 9 give the final letters to order them to get for effect.
But the question where you go want for ask now, how this sacking get for happen, or waiting go inform the decision for make Parliament sack the 137 workman them where them want for sack?
Well, the PSC then get in criteria where they go look at, and basically me no say they go get for look at the appraisal system. They go also get for look at attendance. All that will come in play.
Still, somebody go want for ask who that for blame for the fact say Parliament don't find itself na this funny or wicked situation for pull bread na 137 people a month by way for sack them just because them don't employ people them with Parliament self no need.
That blame they not go one side, not a one-sided blame. I think the blame now all man blame. So you can't pinpoint and say that this get the blame, that they get the blame. I think that all man blame.
people where they work in the Saloon Parliament, especially the one them we not get sababu, or one them we not in a good book of big people in the parliament, them ads go the end now. So till the last bullet come out, we go either send them to the grave of unemployment or not. So till that time day, for Saloon Parliament I on Blah TV online, Mina Abdullah Blah.
Okay, Fambulem, I don't listen to this report, and we go give acknowledge Abdullah for Black TV for a report where he don't give it. He's also a partner of one of the group, the Saloon Parliamentary Watch. But for kickstart this thing, I mean, any tool they do in this country, I want to look at in two parts. Let's start first with the legal side, the processes and procedures. Then me, based on my experience in Parliament, go talk about how Parliament should be staffed, what we need. So for me personally, now two things are: one, let me bring this to you for your comments. Number one, if we listen to the video, the lady when I at the general office say the decision was taken by the Parliamentary Services Commission. Who then are the Parliamentary Services Commission? The Parliamentary Services Commission, the body when are within Parliament, and the head of that speaker, in deputy secretary, now the clerk of Parliament. Listen, now the clerk of Parliament, and when you look clerk of Parliament, he is appointed by the president on the advice of the Public Services Commission. So the key question where we go, why the amendments, the appointment and everything subject to decisions or things where the Parliamentary Services Commission can eat, but why they are not there? They are public servants. Why then condition in terms of service made by the Public Service Commission? Then I question number one, me co-hosts look at. Secondly, we go for look at things to do with contract of employment and security of tenure. You understand? Because when you employ somebody, then get a contract of employment, because then say, wait and say, waiting, then they look, then they talk about, then go do appraisal, tendencies, and those things for determine. Is that the determine who for stay and who for go? The other thing, and say most of them people here, then come after the 5th Parliament start in 2018. So let me co-host big much panel issue with access to employment. The people that they decide who they for employ, waiting at this difference between one man and Parliament and other. Also things to do with fundamental rights in access to employment and then over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mengot. Yeah, I listened to the person in charge for the parliamentary employment staff. So the thing I do not understand, I will look for Mrs. Finda Fraser. Then to compound the whole thing, now then they talk about Parliamentary Service Commission, where they may have been the ones who hired this overabundance of people. Now, let me just take them step by step. Let me go back before we talk about the employment, because there was something mentioned about the sergeant at arms. And in discussing this, the role of the sergeant at arms privately or off the screen with me co-host, elaborate or clearly define what the responsibilities of the sergeant at arms should be. Now we understand, say, some of the people who are considered to be within this range of overemployment was people, I presume, in the office of the sergeant at arms, because I think the Black TV, then video will play, say, before now one person may get a job there, now na three. Well, I'm not so sure if the analysis is right. I think we still get one sergeant at arms. He may have meant before now only one person there in the office there. And one person will be the sergeant at arms at all time. But it will get staff. So now you get more than him. Well, let me just point out some of the errors there, and people who disagree can call in. Or my co-host is welcome even. Based upon what I heard from him, sergeant at arms is like the person who will keep order, peace, prevent rowdiness during parliamentary process. Okay, so practically speaking, you cannot have just one person in that office, because if there is commotion, as we've seen in the past, when the parliamentarians, they become out of order and engage in throwing things at each other, if you look at a sergeant at arms, how much is he going to do for bring order in that situation there? So that would be one situation in which, if he has a staff, and staff will be called upon for render some assistance for bring things under control. So first of all, if they are thinking of sacking people, then I think consideration should be given to the office of the sergeant at arms, knowing the responsibility. I think I will ask Mr. Mengot for even I elaborate on the responsibilities. But for now, in a nutshell, what you know, the sergeant at arms symbolically is just like when you say the commissioner of police, or when you say in the United States the sheriff. But he has to have a staff. The sergeant at arms is just a symbolic person, so to speak. But he has to have someone who will help him for carry out or for enforce the responsibility if the need or the situation arises. So I cannot imagine them talking about some of the people who they employ. They not give specific figures, but if they get within the office of sergeant at arms 5 or more people, that will not be redundant employment. That will be necessary employment in my view. So again, like how would they say, why should the Parliamentary Service Commission be in charge of employment? You know, sometimes...
Yeah, Mr. Sheehan, before you go, I think say for reviewers them, I'd like give them the historical background to the sergeant at arms, so they will know how it came about, because this is something we adopted British system. By the very nature, when they say the sergeant at arms, and I go relate them to something on the 5th Parliament, the sergeant at arms is in charge of security in Parliament. So the man who is named the sergeant of arms in ceremonial duty, now for older mace, the mace now like that symbol of authority. When after they go say prayers in a Parliament, when he go lay in front of the Parliament, again, they get place within the lamb for sure say now Parliament now has authority. So now in ceremonial function that. But he is the head of authority, because to that, before in England, under the parliamentary system, the people that we need a parliament, now the barons, the lords, they all being an army. And people like can go parliament. So that makes so even if you go na the Robbie room, they get place where people and take their sword. So the sergeant of arms now get people and now if I say commotion not being a parliament. Now makes so that you say police then go parliament. If we a sergeant at arms department with enough people, they're responsible for keep law in a parliament. So the sergeant at arms now a whole department, so he guards himself, plus other way they guide security, now the different side of the committee rooms them inside parliament. So it's a whole department. So for me get one sergeant now they get 3, making it means they didn't understand the role of that particular department in parliamentary procedure and process. I hope some people will understand which I say. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, yeah. So in that respect, we need to understand, because I think one of the rules, when they talk about inheritance from the British system, police were not permitted to come to parliament for enforce any orderly behavior or appropriate behavior. That's what you get. That's why you have the sergeant at arms. And like Mr. Menkot say, the sergeant at arms in ceremonial role now for all that what you call mace, and usually they call on the rod of authority, where they hold before the speaker and the rest of the delegation or procession for just walking to parliament and announce, be seated and everything, and parliament takes over. So that office, if they are thinking of sacking people then from there, what we're going to end up seeing is, in the future, if there is rowdiness in parliament, it will look like they will get for call the police again and the army. And we would not get into this bad habit. Would also mix up the police and the army in terms of their responsibility, that would get them too involved in political activities that not fit the job description. We're not to the job description, chef. But this is politics getting into centralized responsibility of the police and the army. So I will urge that if they're going to do that, make them take into account. And number 2, why are they firing these people? Even if there's redundancy, even if there's overemployment. Again, the problem back home in Australia, what you see, now we lack of resourceful thinking, creative thinking. Everything is either black or white. Everything is either yes or no. Because have they thought about transferring some of these people, because they are employees of the government? And then Mr. Mengot mentioned something about contract employment. Well, I'm not sure, watching at the process, whether people do sign in, then they sign any letter of employment. So I'm not sure, but there is still what you would call in law implied contract. So even if there is no written contract, there is something where there is implied contract, there is oral contract. That should be, and usually in the Western Hemisphere, where the British common law now the origin of the legal system, you then get a right, then get an implied contract, we then can file lawsuit for enforced in the court. So I say the lack of creativity, because if there is overemployment, the alternative should not be just sacking people. The alternative should be where there should be more than one alternative, as a matter of fact. But where should these people be put or sent to? Why should their career just become abruptly ended just because the Parliamentary Service Commission, we're not today, in fact, we don't understand that governmental structure there. But they shouldn't be the ones responsible for employment. Because most places, Parliament should have their own personnel, staff, when are they responsible for employment. We should have looked into all these things. So I'm not sure whether Parliament get personnel or human resources office, because normally the offices they never go handle that. You know, I don't know why would they set up commission for almost everything, and this is a recipe for corruption. We don't need commission for every aspect of governmental governance. You know, I mean, because people go college, people go to university, and they study business management, then they study parliamentary procedure, then they study government, you know, then they study political science. This all then knowledge, and for me could be able to create something we go suit we own situation. But a committee no call for any kind of expertise. This is the thing. We set up committee for everything. And committees usually are picked by political connection. You could belong to a committee without having any expertise in what the committee is doing. A banking committee, or any kind of committee.
No, verification, sir. It's the Parliamentary Service Commission. When Alex saying that the people are responsible for everything to do with rules and procedures of Parliament, including employment, remuneration. So that's the clarification.
The Parliamentary Service Commission. Again, I think the same argument.
The Speaker and the Secretary, now the Clerk of Parliament. And the interesting thing, the members of that committee are mostly elected members of Parliament, party affiliation. And normally it can be said the party with more seats in the parliament will likely more members. Although normally the commission forget people are representing all the main parties. But considering what happened in the election, which is very interesting, there are no parties in parliament now. The smaller parties have all been killed off. So I just want to make that point, sir.
Yeah. So with the commission, I think the same argument stands because parliamentary staffing, now in country like here, the people in a Congress, each congressperson has a staff of their own. But beyond that, Congress gets staff where they get their own, they then get in police, then get in security people, then get in drivers, then get different responsibility when a commission is appointed for. Because when you appoint a commission cannot be an administrator because they cannot administer effective procedures for whatever they are appointed as commission. Because already, as Mr. Mengo just mentioned, these are mostly positions. The commission always, they appoint people and then they appoint political cronies. So if we want good government, I think we should look into that and whether we want to continue that in there with the commission, the Parliamentary Service Commission, or whether they want to modify that for create what you could call office personnel, people who are considered civil servants working for the government, regardless of which government kind of power. I mean, if we try to improve the system, we have to look at everything holistically. We cannot keep making positions where we know we'll give one party advantage over the other party, even if we see a downside to that and we not address that. Because I don't know how long we've had independence for 62 or more years, and with the CC, we have not gone much anywhere because we keep making short-sighted policies. So that the main thing down there about the transfer and the contract employees then, because there's an implied contract there that these people have some contract of employment. So what's going to happen to them? Just fire them? And this is another thing too. When government become the main employer of a country, this is what happens. No nation will succeed if the main employer, not the country, not government, because government has limitation, and then there is a risk of corruption. So some of them parastatals them, like some banking and some banks them, we get government employees. We now will get efficient running of the bank with a mixture of political employees, people who don't have any expertise, who were not hired by the bank's personnel, who were sent to the bank to work because government says so. So we are doing ourselves a lot of harm than we are doing ourselves good. I make provision for the fact that, political cronies, people away upon a kind of power, you might give them an opportunity to have employment. You might give them positions. But I'm not sure if the way we do them, not the right way. And before we don't raise the issue of even the composition of Parliament itself. there is a structural defect in the composition of parliament in the sense that when you get the clerk appointed by the president, that is unheard of. The president should has no business appointing anybody in parliament. Because it gets the entire arm of government, when at the executive. If the speaker of parliament not employ somebody in at the state house or appoint somebody in at the state house, why should the president be able to appoint somebody such as the clerk in parliament? Why shouldn't parliament itself be able to make that decision as to how to go about employing a clerk for parliament? There are people who have expertise in all the management skills than they. But you see, we not to take them position in this serious. So in the end, we're not to get good outcome because there are a lot of qualified people in the world who study, who get degrees in government management, in business management, but we're not to put them to use. We just load up commissions of people that we not get expertise for run anything, and they are being paid too. Then commissioners there. So to me, those are some of the comments that I will get for touch on at this moment. The Sergeant at Arms, the Human Resources instead of the Parliamentary Service Commission. I think they forget, Human Resources or but generally, that's what we call them, human resources, or personnel, personnel relations. But I don't think a commission is the appropriate body to efficiently hire qualified people then for working in parliament. So this is just a way of suggestions. But and we could save money because the money we would spend now on the commissioner or the commissioners then, that money they can be used for the employment of trained, qualified people then will get know-how of how to manage and run a personnel office. Well, now the country not even enjoy that benefit there because we are just into satisfying political cronies. So those are some of my comments then in terms of what to do. And then again, making me just repeat, then people and they would want sack. I think it's unfair, but I don't think that should be the solution. Government for sure for find a place for put them. They should not be fired because it's not their fault that that is over hiring. So I would suggest that again, if we think in terms of creative thinking, resourceful thinking, we're not going to make alternatively that these people should just go. I hope the reason being given, because I give the government credit the government meaning parliament, for exercising such concern, and I give them credit for trying to save money if that's the purpose behind it. But I don't think it would be at the expense of the lower working people then. I think we should come up with ways for prevent that from happening. So back to you, Mr. Mengo.
Well, thank you very much for that perspective. Now, when we talk, as most of the listeners there, we're not just the identify problem challenges, we're also the solutions. And I think that this second part where I want to discuss, based on my experience working in the British Parliament at both houses, the Commons and Lords, adopt a lot of the procedures. To start with the Parliamentary Service Commission, the whole way the most appropriate for conduct now for deal with rules and procedures of Parliament. That is a very good role because you get who is the head of the Parliament, and then you get the head of administration. But when it comes to issue of staff relationship, hire and review of staff function, we get two other bodies we can do that very well. For instance, why we not go stick to that old tried and tested method where these people are public servants who could go through the Public Service Committee. We get a Public Service Commission. A Public Service Commission will respond for hiring public servants. I worked as a civil servant, civil aviation on the technical division. I've been able to go through an interview, now PSC, Public Service Commission. So now they roll down it. They will also get the government human resources office, which can help. But a third office will come into mind. We get public sector reform units. So before they reach that stage there, these three bodies should come together and look how do we have a function in parliament, waiting at the human resources need, and also waiting at the financial needs of parliament. Because remember, before the last parliament, there was much talk about increasing remuneration for MPs, for people that were not working again. All that thing and there was rushed to one parliamentary bill which include this review of the role of the Parliamentary Commission. So now, let's look at parliaments. Because if you talk about constitutional review, whatever constitutional review process now parliament get for deal with, and if they get for deal with that, they get for get the right number of staff and right quality. In fact, whenever we do this program, we not just come on air, because from the video we hear, they say Parliament get 15 departments. So I went to the parliamentary website to say, oh boy, 15 departments for Parliament? What are they doing? Why do you need 15 departments? But if you go to the parliamentary website, if anybody can check for me, because me don't check, there's nothing about these different 15 departments. But based on my work, let I give the main bodies the way they in the parliament. First of all, you get the clerks department. The clerks department is headed, as you know, by the clerk of parliament, not the administration. Then clerk then they service not only parliament of itself, in terms of the well of parliament, you can see that they can sit down near the speaker, them, you can get votes them, counting, be like enumerators and everything. Then also you get committee clerk. I worked as a committee clerk, but more on the technical side, the subject. So the committee clerk, each committee, because we get main committees, then the House Business Committee, when are after the House affairs, like you get the Ways and Means Committee, look at things that were parliaments in needs, infrastructure and everything. You get a business committee, look at parliamentary business, but you get this oversight committee, and I think saying that they get the shortfall because each department or agency, like the Ministry of Transport and Aviation, and all the agencies under them, they are supervised by one committee, when at the Transport Committee. And I think we have to look for strengthening Parliament, because you need experience for actually work with the members of Parliament for help them with their scrutiny function. And when you look at the number of committees that are there, I'm sure there's a shortfall. So you can, I don't know the people there where they want to make redundant, waiting at the qualification, waiting at the skills. But you can look at how you restructure Parliament for look at areas there where there's a shortfall, where you go boost up. Then obviously you will get a department where for deal with facilities management. When they look at everything for do with the infrastructure, things like access to electricity, all that thing in there. Then you get support staff. Then of course we don't talk about the sergeant at arms, but there are two most important departments in parliament where will help for strength to parliament. One, now the library research department, because now then they provide information for MPs them during debate, or also if MP want to know anything about the government structure and everything, you need that backup department there for help them. Then we get another department where we adopt from the British, we'll call the Hansard department. Hansard is named after the man who started now the British Parliament. Now the one where they do parliamentary reporting, like the Well of Parliament, like even where you get committee sittings. In fact, in the UK, you get stenographers them, or even shorthand people there waiting at Parliament, where they record proceedings of Parliament. And by the next morning, you get the Hansard report. The Hansard report, now they show all waiting Parliament talk about the decisions where they make MP then get that. So even when MP then they debate, then they reference that Hansard report. Say, now so talk right, because you get record. But if you go on the parliamentary website, which I do regularly, there are no up-to-date records on parliamentary proceedings. We also get a situation last time when they do review of parliament, when they say some committees and they will not even produce reports. They don't produce reports. And let me tell you the role of an oversight committee. Right? If they understand in order, they have to look at the administration, finance, of the ministries and different agencies and policies under them, and also for help with complex issues. So in other words, these committees for Dede as oversight, they're not going for which little thing happen before then decide. And I give you an example how effective then committee then can be. A lot of lapses. Like for instance, we get the political affairs committee. If that committee they be effective, like the last time, ECSL been make all the rules them. It would have been the responsibility of that committee for call Mr. Connell. No. Like I explain to them the basis on which they make their rules and procedures and they relate. So darkness in the system, what we need for strengthening. Also, the MPs, they need researchers then. In most Commonwealth parliaments, the MPs, they can get people, university students, them. This is something I had proposed. For the parliament, we discussed and they're going to very had a video which was where I think it was from Bond. I doffed my hat to her because she was trying to discuss issues and we're very pertinent to economy and inside the society. But she was a bit challenged in terms of the terminologies the way we use. We come to this issue for say, why don't we have MPs in Parliament for talking Creole? give them the choice for English. Because the way that they talk about constitutional review, the qualification for being in parliament, it means therefore be at least in written and oral English. But they take them test, then Mr. Lord go to an American side. In a university, you get TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language. Do you think we need that for parliamentarians? Then, of course, you get the other way in a called SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test. So we know the test them parliamentarians here, that criteria they will use for say, this is a criteria you should have to become a member of parliament. Appropriate? So yes, it's good they raise this concern, but my view is that we have institutions where I don't mention, like the Public Service Commission, we go look at personnel and staffing. We look at the Public Sector Commission. We go look at the structures and systems in Parliament. We get the HMRO, the Human Resources Office of the government. We go look at staff working conditions. So we get for look at all lengthing and day and see the resource needs of Parliament in terms of health and in terms of the finance where they need and how they go. I think say last stop from here. I don't know if you get anything for add before we go to the next topic.
The only thing, and this is not even adding, but which I want to emphasize, like you mentioned, the parliamentary library. You talk about researchers, and I will also add interns who may also become researchers. And then this official language, because again, this is what I talk about creativity. The Englishman, no girl can't tell we. You see, who would they talk about sovereignty? We are so lacking in creativity, it's pitiful. Well, isn't sovereignty important here? Because we inherit English speaking in Parliament, knowing the dynamics of the situation. If somebody gets some basic education, but enough fluent in English, why shouldn't that person be deprived of being an MP or feel timid or intimidated by not getting up and speak what he say good for him people them? Why force that person there for engage in speaking English, in which he or she may not be fluent, but he or she has very good ideas for contribute. So I agree with the thing that maybe part of we thinking of give parliamentarians them options, or just like how we do soon at this show. If we are concerned, I have African friends from other countries, not even talking about the average Americans. But the African friends them from Ghana, Gambia, and Kenya, other places, sometimes like you say, well, I happen to see you on a show. I know what you're talking makes sense, but I don't understand what you're saying. So I can always tell and say, well, this is primarily for the audience back home, so they talk now local language, And so, but we get the Gambians them with the talk Creole, and the Gambians and the talk Creole too, most of them, or a lot of them, not most. So they can listen, then follow some of the arguments them, or they make all the information or to bring forth in this show. But again, European Union, United Nations, or any international organization, now get for tell we say, we for find ways, or for speakers and for be more effective. We cannot insist that they have to, because not only English, fluency is another quality that one has to have. You can know English very, very from back and front, but you're not fluent in speaking it, And so that kind of a thing we need for try for find ways for resolve that. And these researchers, the library, interns, these are all creative, if we try to forget future leaders them. So you give picking them the opportunity for being interns, maybe sometimes from high school, and definitely from the colleges then. So then we begin make them way earn money and this kind of thing. But now we're in system now, everything is just up to government. So we really need to start thinking on feet. By the way, let me stop here also and say, I have not mentioned, but I think I should. The lines are open. People are welcome to call anytime. The lines are open. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to call. And so this is my first time announcing it, but I should have right from the beginning. So you're welcome to call and make whatever comments you might have. Okay, so I'm just elaborating on what Mr. Mengot says. These are necessary resources, parliamentary library, researchers and interns, and for be able to get information across effectively, somehow, in a way, for try to get people and we go talk Creole in parliament, even if it means it has to be interpreted, if so be it. And I will not forget to say, Creole also can be written. And so many of we cannot read even Creole. If they teach Creole at school, and they're international schools in Australia. But if you read them, you say it's not as easy. All right, let me go to a caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? And where you call from?
Good evening again, Mr. Shilon and Mr. Well, name has given me small.
Mr. Mangot.
Well, Mr. Mangot, yes. This is William Mustafa from Leicester.
Welcome.
Before I go to the constitutional review, I've been go back for look at the comments where I've been make me calls them, me submission them, and I see some of my brother them instead of paying attention on the topic, they always just focus on trying to distract the discussion. I'm saying this because una they don't pay una, we they don't pay we. Nobody. This is a national service. No, we come with ideas the way they make the country go before. This diaspora people, I talk, I'm always having frustration because you get water, you get light, you get better medical facility. You want to carry drive on a good road. You see the politicians, they are doing the wrong things just because now your ethnicity, you see a whole tie to them. I see one particular comment where one of no offense to Mr. Taylor, because he always hold on one side, Me, I don't tell you at this forum say the last administration, the time where it is in power, are so much vocal against the government to the point that some of my friends in the SLPP recommended that I come over to them. But I didn't because I don't want to go some side tomorrow. I want to make the point. Then they give me because I know say a genuine one thing way central in anything I do. Now for let Salon go before. If Salon they do well, we will not need anybody for carrying to tell about elections. We are not doing well. But I don't understand why these guys, instead of them, if you support a political party, if you not get a point, believe me, they will listen. I give always examples them. The time when they one day raise data, when the SLP people then complain, they abolish that raising of that data immediately. But they sit on no more. They appoint things there, revenue no day, water no day, electricity no day. When would they try to talk about it? Try for tag we say, oh, even then they go and mention Antikadi in program. We are not, I know they ever mention Abu no there. Because now a very bold lady for how these topics the way they cow it. And at the national conversation, no, we respect them as a lady. No, they can't see, I'm not getting any problem with them. We are discussing. We exchange ideas, how it would be better for this country. But then just hold one side about SLPP. Today, the one that with the SLPP, APC, then they resonate with we because they are in opposition and we get to oppose the government Last time now the same thing. Who they opposed the APC government, we they resonate with SLP people because they were in opposition. But then just sit down for the paint people. Even Mr. Kabo, when they talk, see, Mr. Kabo, Mr. Kabo is reading from documents. They talk about an own idea. He's reading from documents and bringing this to the public. And instead of you give a contrary idea. You should don't know, oh, Mr. Kabo, he bias. How he bias? He's talking against the ills of government, which is very enormous and it open for everybody to see. I don't want to go personal. I always want to talk about ideas. But these people who are just in the diaspora, who have everything, who don't see anything wrong in the system, this is very painful. I said today, before I make a contribution, the next call about the constitutional review they talk about, just talk to these people. Fellows, let's come together and bring progressive ideas. Saloon, from when we get independence, before independence, we are still rock bottom. Why? Because the wrong things are happening. Lord, we put fire on these people so that they do the right things. Now that I want force you to be brought at them, with this dumb, they try to divert the national conversation. Thank you very much, sir. I'll come back later.
Please do. You're always welcome because you're such a passionate listener, contributor. We also appreciate your thoughts and your concern. We need more of you. So please call again or call later. Let me go to another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? And if you may, you can tell us your name, but at least tell us where you're calling from. Okay, Abdul, welcome. Just as Mr. Mustafa, you always get meaningful suggestions to make. So we always look for hearing from you. Welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
who's kind you're not going for bring anything independent in you finding because that they don't give you money for go do the oversight for them. So you see, so now some of the problems that way the parliament they really therefore do their work so that the people of Sierra Leone go hold them in high esteem. I don't mean more adjusted for call for contribute. And I thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And please call later if you never finish your thought or if some new thoughts come to mind. You are always welcome to call back and just give us some ideas or give the nation some ideas. So we strongly encourage people for call. And a lot of times we touch on some of them topics there. They may not be the most popular topics, forget as many callers because some of them are very technical. Only people who probably pay close attention, but not always will get to the popular issues then, because if you say corruption, everybody wants to jump in. But there are so many things in running a government efficiently that we'll get for touch on. So we strongly encourage people for pay attention and come up with ideas if they have any in mind. So let me go back to Mr. Mengot for see what you say. There's a comment I may read. We need to educate not just the children, but also the adult population of Sierra Leone. Well, that is true. I think we should, but how do we do it? Because the children are very important because they are the leaders of tomorrow. And now, like plants, watching if you till the soil and you sow the seeds, well, you know what are them for germinate properly, or you go get no crop or bad crop. So we should always remember that. So when we who are in charge now, in fact, me and Mr. Mengot, not a young generation is in charge now because a lot of the ministers, if you take like the chief minister, I think he's 35, you know? So now the young generation this, now them for be resourceful, now them for be the forward thinkers. We are on our way out. So we are hoping that more people will listen. We are hoping that when these positions are being given to even spokesperson like Solomon Jamiru, these are all smart guys, but they should be willing to accept invitation to come on programs like this and explain to us or be willing to answer questions. They're not for begin, they hide behind whatever restrictions or authority we they lack. Come and tell we because so much is going on. We want to make when able for explain to the people what you want to do. So this thing about constitutional review, okay, Mr. Mengot is going to get to it, but in the order of priority, some of we not think say is of such urgency right now. But back to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, thank you very much. I think we have the caller way or the person, the texter, we say we not just get for children, the adults, they need education as well. Well, we see this new government will come before them get the National Council for Civic Education for Development. Now we have information and civic education. Hope say they would let people about the rights and duties and obligations. The other day I made a mention. I said, how many people as I know say we get a public petitions committee in Sierra Leone? In fact, there's one case because the people for power, when we do a public petition about a company which they take payment, and Parliament being considered. So the idea of getting public petitions committee, even the issue for this Corner or ECSL, if there is a lot of them together, get signatures and put into the public petitions committee, because we get a political affairs committee in Parliament, which is an oversight committee. That committee is bound by law and parliamentary procedures for look into that issue. So first of all, we people then for understand the role of waiting at their own responsibility and waiting at the right access. We get so many like right access information. All these things cover a lot of things. Now go to the second night, which is also part of constitution. When our local government, there are so many things them where local government can, because one of the white paper the report, the one we do, then talk about say local government decentralization. Now one new chapter way for them in the constitution. And we not discuss this thing in the past because there is decentralization, there is devolution. And I think say my co-hosts will probably, from a legal perspective, explain these things before we go into this whole thing. Because decentralization, in my view, means that you actually give some autonomy to the local government, and that will be going alongside with devolution, which means certain responsibility where central government gets, it can devolve them to local government because they are closer to the people. So this next part of in terms of constitutional review, now this decentralization and devolution, in one particular aspect of service. So I don't know if me quarrel much because one show video of one particular service were very important, which was devolved to local government. And it's part of the government flagship program the last time, which is the free quality education. So listen to this video clip, then my co-host go start with the legal and constitutional matter, then me go talk transport, although because that is one area where I'm on bread and butter. Over to you, sir. We'll now get the video.
This is Maboka town, the district headquarters town of Tonkolele district, and this is not the new academic year. Early morning, I don't grab put my bike. You see, because of the constraints we are seeing at this district headquarters town, government, everybody concerned. You see, students when they work out, this is very early in the morning, very, very early, 7 a.m. in the morning. Now they are grab. Now you will find out, say this district here, so get buses that we government don't distribute all about the country. Now one of the bus parks, so look the other one. They're all two pack. Then they in very good order. Now, according to reliable sources, then they tell we say because of petrol don't go up, or let's say fuel don't go up. Now that make them not go able one leons for what the pikin at school. But you see how the pikin they work, then they work a serious one. Now school day now I will be say from inside the town to the school now almost 4 miles for access the school. Initially, the pikin they pay 1,000 at the bus for go. But now I saw the bike my the park there 3, 4, 5 per bike before they move. And now the junction they take them 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000. Depends on who side they take you for go to per person. And then they go to one person. And also the teacher they go through the same constraint. Imagine teacher out there they pay 1.5 or 1.3. Let's just say 1 million, some money get there on top. They pay every day 10 million go, 10 million come, or 15 million go, 15 million come. Almost go left. Or teacher where they already pay, when a volunteer. You see the picking them all day. You see them one day out there they run, then they run for fan bike because they don't almost late. From here for going to the school, now almost 3 miles, 3 to 4 miles rather from this junction. So if they come to 8 o'clock, the picket don't late. Because the boss, they know they go the picket again at school. Look there while negotiate to them. Begin negotiate to that one and that wear the red helmet. Now they don't come to the one with the black. Negotiations continue. We don't know if they're going to go with them. Now this the picket in the face. Now this side of the country, Maboka Tong, Tonkolele district headquarter. Shop they not even open yet. Very early in the morning. See, mixed schools. Look there while they are waiting to line. So they eat first before it's check for going in school. It's difficult. You see this, they all they negotiate just now. Now they don't meet up. They go to all three in school. Papa government, Soriat organization, or Kumbra them we able, they are gonna come together, let them able settle. You see them people who wear slippers. Not of us in a glidiness made them wearing slippers and they will now pile and get for pile go to school. Pile go, so they pile come back. And it's tough. This now is school over. Then just don't come out school. I take me time make this video for money time and I wait with schools them over. You saw the picking them team up. Look so they work at they go yonder. You see them? Are they being and shuffle with me bike and my phone? And they take record of everything with they happen. The picking and the pile for going house. You see? Now long road this so. Look the beginning the work I see where I tell this now picking wear slippers. So gladness una for work I go na house. So get the shoe inside the bag where you na school the wear am. But when come out school, they pull them. The same way left house they come back. They pull the shoe and wearing slippers for going house. You so then seriously work they go. Not so gladness. They not get the money for pay. The money no day, Papa government. Sorry out organization people who they out there are ready for help. Money no day for them pick up pay good school and can. Imagine Kumbra we know the answer lie or even if the answer lie you get 4 or 5 picking. I go able to give them all transport for going camp 10, 15,000 one. You know give lunch here too. It's tough. Now me I call on government. Last year I make a video like this summer attack missile it's guy for sabotage XYZ, but this is not sabotage. Now help our let them help the picking and they suffer. Even teachers they struggle for pay going camp. So do ya. The authorities responsible on try for aid this. Now they can go na tongue. Inside the tongue, let's show people they trek back for return at the homes them. Because I don't know which monitor this now we school over and they go na house. Imagine a bike for them. We comprise of 2, 3, 4, 5 picking. You see this now inside the tongue like I tell now. Then the worker now return at the homes and so. Then they return. You see them before you know, long road. Then the worker then all the trek return. So they are. At the colon government and so art organization. Let them try for resolve this. The people let's not 2,000 they pay for going to school. Let the boss their own back.
All right. What say you, Mr. Mengot? Or you want me to comment?
Your take, sir. This idea, okay. Let me set the ball rolling.
Yeah,
right.
Go ahead.
Now, we know say local government and central government therefore work together. There are lots of services. I don't know much about Maborka, but I feel to say it will be the same. But using like what we know, the free municipality, local government responsible for, well, somebody said as far as I know, the cost of fuel for school buses should be subsidized. We will deal with that, sir. Local government get responsibility to manage schools. There are some local government schools. In future, we'll get municipal schools then, right? So then get some kind of responsibility. But also, this school transport is a critical area of concern. And now part of the package for the government flagship program when a free quality education. Well, we don't react to them for that. Because when them program can come, the challenges them, we not can look at them. So what happened? Government procure the buses, right? Then get into local government as school buses. But I will come to the technical part. This all come to finance between local government, how they get in finance, the ability for raise revenue, and also contribution from the parents in terms of school transport, a very important side. So let's start with that as a prelude to issues regarding what will they talk about in the constitutional review context when a decentralization, devolution, using this issue of school transport, the role devolved to local government and the support that they could get from government and how we could make them better. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Well, again, I have always been a critic of the Local Government Act. And I've always taken the position, and I have been trying so hard for the past couple of years get someone to disagree with me, because I'm not saying I'm 100% correct, but I've been trying to find the powers to be, or the authorities then, for disagree with me and point out where I'm wrong. I have always taken the position that the Local Government Act, in and of itself, if not in whole, but definitely in part, is unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional for the simple reason that what it does, it takes away authority from the local government that they had. The local government had certain authorities that the Local Government Act take away from them. And then you talk about devolution, which I assume is synonymous with delegation, and take the local government and the power and delegate them to the central government, as if the central government doesn't have enough. And the problem is the unconstitutionality on its face, without going into any detail, is the fact that local governments are governments by the people. Are government of the people. The local governments are government for the people, by the people, and of the people. Now, then you get an act of parliament that just takes away that right there from the people who have elected a certain body called district council or city council. Okay? And these councils have councillors. And then this council, like the city councils, then they have mayors. So the power of the mayor and the council, who are elected by the people, that power there is usurped or taken away by an act that has no basis in law or even in fact. There's no sense in it. And then delegates that responsibility there to a single minister, what they call the Minister of Local Government. The question I've always raised, I like for noting the genesis of that act there. What has it solved since it was put into effect under President Kaba? Because sometimes people don't realize that laws are passed with bad intentions, with narrow-mindedness, with short-sightedness. It appears to me that Local Government Act there was passed without much deliberation or consideration or much thought. Because someone needs to call and tell me, VOS, let them tell you the positives or the pluses of local government since its inception, since the passam, what are the good things the way they do, what the act they do, as opposed to the way things used to be. There is a government that grab a lot, they get enough on them plate, whether or not they run efficiently. So, okay, President Bill, I got to give him some credit. There are certain laws with which I agree with him that for whatever his intentions that he don't abolish, you know, like the libel, 1965 libel laws. I think that was a sound decision to get rid of that. It make parliament, it make parliament abolish that. You know, I agree with him, although it's debatable with some quarters. I'm not a believer in capital punishment, particularly with our legal system as slack as it is and as unjust as it is. You will get ordinary people them for lost their life by execution because of inadequate representation of lawyers. Lawyers not, because even in this country, not all lawyers they try capital cases. Now it's a specialty, it's an area where lawyers and they specialize to try capital cases. And then the system is set up in such a way, if you're a young lawyer, you may be as bright as anything. If you not get experience in trying capital cases, the judge steps in and appoints a lawyer with some degree of experience to associate with you, or for you to associate with them, depending on how long you've been a member of the bar for trial, because you get somebody in life there on the line. So so this local government act, where President Midi urged President Bio say that would be another important law that, well, there are a lot of things that I think are unconstitutional. I also talk about this intermittent or interval of the president asking for a census. That should never happen. The Constitution says every 10 years,
Just
that
start
should
from here. I think we have a call on the line. Let's give
Yeah, I see
let
it.
the
I see
caller
it.
a chance.
Yeah, I was trying to not to lose my thought. I see it. Yeah, but thank you.
Sorry about that, sir.
Hello, caller. What's your name and which you to call from? Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Shilona. Abdul again.
Yes, sir. Thanks for calling back.
Yeah, I'm intrigued with this local government issue because I work for a local government now. So I'm a public servant. I know. So and as I'm telling you some time ago, now local government are doing dissertation on the undergraduate.
Good. Let me interrupt you a minute. Let me interrupt you a minute. May we use your expertise? Tell us, because you can educate we all. We're going to ask the control room for give you some time because this is very important. Go ahead.
Yeah, I respectfully beg for differ with your own view. Say the local government act, meaningful. There are good aspects of the local government act where, if we may use that effectively and efficiently, if we don't benefit with the devolution aspect of where it stipulates say all primary and middle schools, the local government, local councils, now then for to pretend the affairs of primary school and JSS schools. If only the Ministry of Education, we don't devolve that function to them and allow them to pretend the affairs of the JSS school and primary school efficiently, we don't see results. I think the problem we get now, like when they give the cow, then they hold the rope. Now so them pass the act. And even with the permit where they forgive the building permit. Now the local government, the local council, now then solely responsible for give permit for build now any part now the city and the jurisdiction where then they control. But that's not the be. Like free tongue you in worse. Everybody just everything still centralized at the Ministry of Land. The hospital, the primary hospital, then for they under the local government, the local council, like street now, like King Aman Road Hospital, like Macaulay Street, Lumley, then small peripheral hospital, and then they under the local government. But they like I say, then they give the rope, then they hold the cow, then give the cow, then they hold the rope. They not effectively devolve them functions, and then I come to the school aspect with this transportation. When government may buy the 50 buses, then give them to local councils. When we see say there was this tug of war between councils and government, who that for pay the drivers? Now they the problem first. Who that for pay the drivers? Government say the money where they generate and the 1,000 leons, when a 1 leon now we picking and they pay as transportation, that's good and still maintain up to this time. Even few months where I come out free tongue, I've seen 1,000. Now from that money they pay the drivers then and buy fuel for the vehicles and service the fuel, the vehicles if the vehicles default, them get breakdown. But the problem is the councils and the complaint say the money when they generate is not enough for pay the drivers, buy fuel, and for service the bus system. This is not the complaint where they come up from up for the past 3 or 4 years. That the complaint is with the council and they bring up saying that the money where they generate because at 1,000 euros the beginning they pay, and the buses then they cram. The buses they are not enough because government they say they get 2.5 million to 3 million. Now Freetown alone when we see all them past 3 years here when they go at the see. Picking them really the strain for transportation. Government for provide because as I tell you, I myself they work for a local government here. Una for make and let the thing accessible for the picking affordable. The buses are not enough. Picking them still they go school late, even at Freetown. Because when the morning, picking about 6 o'clock, picking them not come on at street for wait for the bus. And I can show you for them picking them way tiny. You go like Lumley, round up Lumley, where they picking in the way. You go see the small picking away. They're not going able. You go see picking in a primary school. Then they push. You know the big boys them and big them go push them aside when they rush for going inside the bus. So the buses are not enough. And one thing we government will realize when they provide them services, especially transportation, not all revenue making. Now social service they perform. Now the duty that now social service government they perform. You are not doing it to generate revenue. Now me country where me day, non-picking they pay na the county bus, non-picking. And it's non-school picking. So if the picking not going with the school bus, some parents and they don't know they pay for the picking of going to school, but the county bus are free. You enter. Picking just they go to the library. You go, you present your ID card. We give you that youth pass, then give you the youth pass. Fill in information, fill the form, then give you the youth pass. Now that pass is shown at any county public bus. I believe say government will realize that say the bus service enough for be revenue generating, not for revenue generating. Now social service will perform, especially when it comes to the speaking and school bus, also revenue generating. Therefore, find other ways and means. That's the reason why they generate the revenue through property tax, through licenses, and the local tax. And I believe that it is time, it is overdue for the people and they pay 5,000 euros for a whole year for local tax in Sierra Leone. If it don't do now for the people and they pay every month, then they deduct, then they do that check-up system for people the way they work. Both public and private people, then deduct them from them. Because that 5,000 euros a year, how much are you going to get for upkeep a city? Sierra Leone, 80% of the people in the private sector than this. So how much people in the pay that local tax? When are still at 5,000 for the past 15, 20 years, now the 5,000. So you get for federal ways and means or raise that. Let people in they pay every. You cannot expect the president paying 5,000. The woman with the sweep dirty and street, they pay 5,000. You cannot. That is not how you pay local tax. You pay as you earn. That is how we generate local tax now. You pay
Okay,
as you earn.
Abdul, may I interrupt you? May I interrupt you so we can comment on it? Probably take a call.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah, please hold your thought. Hello, caller. Which know your name? Where you call from? Hello, caller. Okay, maybe the caller was tired of holding. Mr. Mengot, you get any comment? Okay, I want to address because I think watching the Abdul the talk show, in fact, you are more of an expert in it. But so let me just make a quick comment and I'll let you take it over. I think Abdul say he disagree with me. I was listening keenly for the area where he disagree with me, but I probably think, get the nuance of watching me to talk about the constitutionality of it. Everything we say, I agree with him in terms of the responsibility of local government. And the local government, the authorities, the way they talk about, they once had the authority there. So the local government act take their responsibility then they, where the local government gets. So the act take their responsibility there and give devolve unto the central government in the hands of in the person of a single minister who has taken over the responsibility of a council elected by the people. That was my point. And I don't think, in fact, Parliament, the local government itself, is constitutional in that it usurped the power of the city council and the mayor and the district councils and the councillors, power delegated to them, or that should have been delegated to them by the Constitution. That's a main point. But all which you talk about in terms of responsibility, we are in the same boat. We're 100%. But the argument is, this is what local government should do, have been doing, until the government come with this local government act, the act, and take away their very responsibility then the way you don't talk about, and take control of it, and then now they cannot do the job. So that, but let me pass them to Mr. Mengo so he can even elaborate on that some more.
Okay. First of all, like Abdul, I as you know, I spent almost 8 years working in local government in England. Mostly I was in the planning department where deal with things with transportation, so I can share a lot of experience. But I think where Abdul's point is coming to, where I will see him, is the idea of the 2004 Act. It's like what he said, they hold the rope. Because when you look at white power, which follows the Justice Cowan Constitution, we compensate a chapter in the Constitution, the 1991 Constitution. The only thing we mention relates to elect people for the allotment, which this government wanted to review the last time. Because even the Cowan, the white paper say, local government councillors should be non-partisan. But one of the things which you said again, which I think was mentioned in the review, and that's where we have the problem. Because the review observed, the white paper say, the local authority should be the highest political authority in the locality and responsible for general administration locality. It is the highest political authority. But we get the systems, the 204 Act, which they now amend. If you look at the schedule, there are a lot of things in that schedule, some of which Abdul mentioned, which is like giving building permits, even license for sand mining, and also things to do with housing, development, provision of car parks. Since that act, the last government been get a local government decentralization secretariat where they were talking about the transition for take some of those involved responsibility to local government. Of course, this government last time, they headed by the vice president, he made promises. But then what did you see? Bam, we get the Local Government Act, right? The review, the amendment. Then we get the Land Commission Act, and reverse everything. And that supervision, even the council says that even local government for raise revenue. All that they are very interesting issues then. But now come to the transport side, when I'm 40. I agree with Abdul 100% that this is a socially necessary service. And when government been a thing for given to the council, what they didn't do, when you operate a transport, any form of transport, you get to look at your operating cost, you get to look at your overheads and your revenue. At worst, you can gain a break-even situation. But when you talk about cost, you get to talk about fixed costs, things like insurance, right? Driver wages, those are fixed costs now over a period of, even registration of the vehicles. There you get your running cost. When I fuel, when now they go topsy-turvy. Lubricants, things to do with maintenance and repairs. So you get to look at all that thing and they, for now, set the fare at which you go charge for let that service they be viable. Where in most cases, considering the amount of money where they charge, it's not possible for the government or the give local government any subsidy for run them buses then they. So obviously the buses they're not going to run at the service intervals and for meet the needs. So we have to look at where you make them policy then they. We have to look at the whole school bus service. The good news is, which is another program which I'll look at, we are reviewing public transport. If you remember the 10-day school, or in a body, man, so you know go relate to what I go talk. But we will be there free, so we can get vouchers then. Yeah, we can get vouchers for road transport buses. So we not get school bus, but you as a student, you buy a voucher. When I then voucher, then you're using a bus with normal buses. Because put it this way, is it cost effective? You get a 50-seat bus, right? Which go take picking in the morning, we can pay 1,000. Then during the day, that bus they sit up. They operate. Then until when school come out, you use them back. So we have to look at ways of innovative ways of providing school transport. We come back to the Maboka situation. We'll see the rural areas. First of all, as a road safety man, I condemn them wholeheartedly. It's against the law for letting them put 3-4 picking one Okada where they not even get elements. Now elements, then they call them. But then they're innovative. We all the association them. Some of the way I do work, the way I do in Africa. They are two bicycles and they were me picking and now outgrown. We could use safe routes to school. We can begin by donating those cycles. Get them picking and they provide them with bicycle, letting the cycle to school. They're helping the community. We have a look at all this school transport. So left and day, unless you get something, because we get with last topic, where I feel to say that last topic then I go be
Can you just Can you tell us what the last topic is going to be? As we are agreed.
Okay. The last topic is also related to constitutionality. We are talking about international partnerships.
Okay.
And why we talk about these international partnerships? Because you have two sides of the argument. Then there are also election.
Okay.
On the one hand, you get a certain group of people who say, we in a salon, we are a sovereign. Nobody no get for tell you what to get for do. How for run we country, how for all we government accountable or institutions accountable, and how we for provide services for people. You get on the other side, we say, well, we get with partners them, both bilateral, when I mean bilateral, like Britain and we partnership with Britain and bilateral and country to country. The partnership with America again, a bilateral, country to country. Then we get multilateral, like what they deal with the EU, the World Bank, the IMF. Where they're responsible, then they contribute a lot to the country, the running of the country, through budgetary support, through development projects, and all the rest of it. So recently, we don't see this for tiff between we and we, but also the Americans, them, young people them from this side. And some of the comments which are coming from both official sources and party supporters. And we're asking, is it good for the country? Because again, when you look at Constitution, international partnership and relationship and treaties and agreement is something which holds us back. So this last topic, now the issue of the American government in relation to Sierra Leone, and now we they handle this matter. Where we president now in our United Nations General Assembly, and instead being able to get the opportunity for explain the government position. So let's play that video there and end down the up. And then before that, get something for talk.
Yes, sir. Do me a favor. I'll be just one for let announce that topic there generally. But I just want to touch on very quickly, unless I miss something we have to talk about. It seems like we're all on the same side. The duties the way talk about local government, those used to be the duties of local government. Now the central government take then duty then they away through the Local Government Act, then taken away from the local government. Because the issuance of licenses and many other things the way they talk about, the duties then with the city council be the carry or the district council be the carry. There's no disagreement on that. Now the Local Government Act, now I ain't take that power away from them, then give it to a single minister. This is my point. So when you say you disagree with me, go ahead.
Just to go back in time for nostalgia for the younger one we don't know. Yeah. Local government are in particular city council.
District council.
Yeah. Omolanke be nege license, bicycle be nege license, dog self be nege license. All land be local government and city council they do. You know,
precisely.
So, you know, yeah. So these are the value and the responsibility has been eroded over time. But then at the same time, there has been control over them.
Particularly with the government, and the control was by the Local Government Act. Now that Local Government Act, it take authority from the city councils, it take authority from the mayor, and the way you read this now say the city council or the local government should be the highest authority. But now the central government, they claim they should be the highest authority. They want to run a city. That was my point. So the law will give them that power there. Because first of all, there's this mistaken belief that Parliament has the power to just pass any kind of law. No. Parliament cannot pass law where a breach the rights of individuals. Parliament will contravene the Constitution. Parliament cannot pass laws where abridge the rights of districts and towns and territories and communities. There are limitations on Parliament. Parliament don't get absolute rights. So Abdul saying disagree with me slightly, but I think maybe I don't make my points succinctly or clearly as I should have. I have no problem with it, but me to try to tell him, because I don't know how old Abdul is, all what he narrates that used to be the function of the local government. Now, this confusion with central government where they grab, where they overreach for power, now they can confuse the whole process to the point of a minister now in the run the city council. Technically, it may or has to be accountable to the city council. I mean, to a minister who is not elected by the people. So this is the point I'm making. It is just, first of all, it's bad government policy. And second of all, I think by we on the legal system back home, it should be challenged. So, but I'm not disagreeing with Abdul at all. I agree for, say, any transportation for children should be highly subsidized. Even public transportation, usually in almost every country, even Maryland where Abdul is, the city where they, the public buses or the subways are subsidized by the central government, which is the federal government. Then, because the city where they run their transportation, and they're not going to get, they're not going to able to afford for them without making it for profit. And some of them services here, they cannot be on a profit basis. It will not work. And so, definitely, now it looks kind of disgraceful and absolutely cruel that children are walking to school and their buses parked without being operated. And the reason is government don't get the money for buy fuel. So how do we reconcile that? I don't think a problem will not going to be solved unless you point out the fact that there is risk to even human safety when one Okada rider or driver, they take multiple passengers then just because he wants maximizing profits. So government get responsibility there too. Local government as well as central government, but local government more so. But the bosses, of course, if government not be tried, if the central government not be tried for take away local government in power, maybe local government will have had the ability for impose taxes or taxation on the people. But central government saying, no, we for do all that. Well, but then school buses are parked. And according to the reporter or the narrator, these buses are absolutely in good mechanical shape. But the only problem is fuel. So these are the things. Now, local government for do all that in there, but under proper, not the way government can just have a power grab, then take all them power from local government, not because they get any expertise. And my point is not because then things say they can do better than the local government. They just take them for just power, out of sheer power. We see the consequences, you know? And one more thing I need for reading that circumstance. And we even the Ministry of Education, some of these schools, children go to school late, then they beat them. Corporal punishment should be abolished in our educational system because of the extreme poverty, you know? Picking up go work at 4 miles, then you say you reach in a school late, then you for beat up. And also Abdul talk about the bus system in the area. I think it's not different from the bus system in the new area. The bus system for schools now, public schools, I think the bus are on the road about 5 o'clock in the morning. Children wake up very early because for be able to get them all at school in time. There are ways these things can be done. If it's done here, it can be done in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is much too small for that not to be accomplished. The problem we get is the people managing the engineer, the people setting the policy, get zero expertise in the administration of education and all of those things. That's what our problem is. So expertise not there, how to picking enough for overcrowd the bus. I mean, you get homes, there are ways overcrowding not to take place now. It doesn't take place in Maryland. So why should it take place in Sierra Leone? But that's all a matter of policy put in place by experts like you, Mr. Mengot, people who know what they are doing, not to people who want to give position for political purpose. That's a million point down there. But we are all, you, me, Abdul, we're all on the same side. But I still say the Local Government Act has done more harm than good. And that's what I want to be challenged on. I want Abdul or somebody to show me how the Local Government Act improve things. How, when I get involved in running things, things have been improved from the way things used to be. Because all it's in a way narrate, and the Local Government Act, and I that. So I want somebody to challenge me and say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 developments, progress have taken place because of the Local Government Act. That's what I'm looking for. Hello, caller. Is there a caller on the line?
Yes, this is for the Mustafa again from Leicester.
Okay, for the, yeah.
I'm glad you woman they try for split the topics there about the constitutional review. But me always get one point of interest on the constitution because I've been in Europe for a long time and I don't in a country the way ethnically diverse. I know say this is very important for democracy survives. Let me give you an example. If even as Spain, if not to say they get constitutional, a constitution where be say they take their tribe very strongly in their democracy. Even Catalonia for don't go away. Because the constitution it makes sure that they make sure say for come out inside that union, it get for be a consensus. So we go talk about everything. Let's look at the rancor in Africa about power. Look at what they do. Look how president they go to America. They go talk like Pekin. I mean desperation because he want help from other people. They are too much. But if we take say for instance like what didn't do, I always mention the example of Belgium, which I've been on it for a long time. Make sure say where they make democracy, where they make a constitution, make sure say the tribes them, the power, it go to the regions so that everybody goes you don't full in ruling people them. Like another example, when they say let them go protest for na saloon, not that the southeasterners are not having problems economically, namely they not come out now, not the reason. The reason is that they feel comfortable and people in a power. They go complain every day when they see video them for complaining, oh, this, then they mock mother. But when they say for come out protest against or for votes, they didn't go vote for them back. So therefore, what you for do actually now for make sure say inside those people, inside the southeasterners, you make a governance system where go make it they can get a choice of leaders. This now don't happen in Europe. No, we not just take this democracy, we run away with them. We not get population the way they talk the same language. They go any side like that the past election, the president they get 5 votes them now other part of the country, but right in the north. Even in the Freetown, if you follow the IRA, the total they did, Chamora they get up to 260 votes. The president they get 30 votes inside Freetown. It's not that the president in other ideas, no, because the people who they vote in that area, now the ethnic consideration and anything for votes. So what do you do? Try to make sure say, like for instance, Belgium had and Duam. Last give the example clearer. The French people, then they make their own party, then get their own political party them. And the Flemish people, who are the Dutch speakers, then get their own political party them. The governance is split completely. The political party, competition, is split. So what I don't do in elections, they go bring the 2 parties them or 3 parties them from the French side, then bring back 2 parties or 3 parties from the Dutch side, they form them together, they form a government. The prime minister, he not get better powers, where at any time he can lose in office. But if we talk about any other thing, they no more, we forget about this thing here, we're very fundamental. Look, where they don't form government as alone, they look at today as alone. The president, the police chief, the military chief, the very important position are from one tribe because now they trust for letting them be in position. So look at this thing this way. Now they trust. And we're not go and blame and say, oh, if you call them, these are the people that he trusts and knows them could protect them. But if they don't make governance in such a way that he not get for fear, say, would I put no matter, this will not have been a problem. I mean, I go just focus on this. Anytime I get opportunity for talk about the constitution, Now this now they carry with. Let them put her inside this. Sir. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And that world is trifle. Let me take another call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where's you call from?
Yeah, Mr. Mr.
Abdul.
Shilo. And yeah, not that I disagree totally with what you submit, but my own point of argument is I believe say the local, because when the Tijan Kabami conceive of the idea of resuscitating the local government in the early 2000s, where the act finally passed in 2004. I mean, with every local government, things when they evolve. Just me, I don't like I tell you that the local government are the work now, Maryland. Things when they evolve, there are certain. So I believe say because Inomi don't day 100 years ago when local government start in 1896. I think that make them conceive, say, let them get an act we go spell out all the roles and the responsibilities of local government. Let people away born, because me born at John Street, na Central Freetown. Then there's when they know the roles and the responsibilities of the Freetown City Council. Then they go clean market every Sunday. We then near Kutogood market, then go clean the market. Now then they make sure say the gutter then clean. Fire force they can clean we gutters them. So we there along John Street, Nimana Street, Charles Street, William Street, all the streets, and they fire force they clean them every Sunday. We will see them meeting and then lights at the street. Now the local governments responsible for their lights and you will street lights them. The local government are they responsible for repair the feeder, then small feeder routes and then streets and But people now, and especially the picking away born we now, they don't know say now be the duties and responsibilities of local governments that they don't know everything and they say government. So million points of argument is if the local government therefore find ways and means to raise revenue. Like that Magboka no go raise.
They don't have the power. They don't have the power anymore. They don't have it. The central government has taken it away from them.
Raise the same revenue like Bo or Kenema or Kono or Koinadugu, because then on this there is not much of economic activity where they take place. So they're not able for generate revenue where Bo they generate, where Freetown they generate, where Kenema they generate, where Kono go generate. So this brings me to the other question: is therefore raise the local government tax so people and they pay. Let the people and begin and pay monthly. Then they do a checkup system for all public and private workers. Then the individuals and then tie down local government taxes. So anything you want to take the government say for produce them. So let it be monthly checkup, because now for help them small their other districts and they win and they not get much economic activities and then districts and they for generate revenue. I something that that's not the problem where only the district they face so for fuel this bus. So I just need a call back for just making submission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you call from? Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Yes. Hello, Mr. Shilon, Mr. Mengot. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for the program.
You're welcome.
Yes, Mina Ahmed, I call from UK.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. You know, this discussion about the local government and how they run. You're right, exactly like when Abdul did talk, and then you say the local government don't get the power anymore. Yes, indeed, that's true. You know, they don't get the power anymore because you see that laws, and they change certain laws then, also for benefit to the community, the people then. But these people, when they pay taxes, we were grown up freedom, we don't live there. We see before where all of them feed their roads, them, you know, they look after them, then small for make some, you know, roads them, for look at the municipal schools them. You know, in fact, some of people going and then public schools and some of the families are in public schools and they, you know, they're municipal schools them. So we see that, you know, they get their own government, they get their own, you know, structure when you look at all of them schools and the transport system, because by then still bus and they will run. So people, the one they will get the ability for ticket, you know, transport for going to school, you will pay. But bus has still been there. Where the runway, and the local government in look at the running of the transport system there. But as you say, in this recent times, you know, laws they don't come in, they get a minister of local government. I don't know if that will not exist before, because I'm not ever hearing about minister of local government. You get the mayor, you get the councillors, and these councillors, some of them move around and they tax the business people and they collect tax, and based on that tax when they collect, I know the government for subsidize it as well. Because that money I know sometimes not good enough for run, you know, that you know, but except they generate income. If they then go there and lobby outside and get their own fund, they go to the party, you know, I think they do. So you go able to generate income, they set up their own side or they able to raise income for making it, you know, they able to fund themselves. As I tell you now, I get a friend of mine. We go to school and now we grow up as teachers and stuff. We start, and now in the head of school, just recently they promote and this year. When you go to the school, even the school, a municipal school, now you go buy paint for come paint the office. You go, then they open last Monday, chalk nothing at the school. I say, how they do now? I say, I they go to the other school, so I be there first. I they go left, I go borrow, get some chalk one day. I say, so with government, so they not give now anything, nothing, no, they say nothing, nothing. So how they teach and they go teach. Imagine a municipal school. So, you know, so you see, they look at the trend of what's they happen, and then people who can't tell we say the education is doing well, all of these sections already they thrive well. But you know, so if imagine a whole school, this is a big school, not doctor, you know, one of the municipal schools, the model. So now a big school. So imagine that kind of school, they you know get jobs. How the teachers will go teach? You know, and these are municipal schools. We be saying they under the municipality. They could they like what Abdi talk as strong as what Mr. Mengot also say. Now London now, the students and then they pay, the bus not free. As long as you get your car, I think they get a car where they pay for £10. I think when you lost side, they pay, I think I don't go £15 or so. But now they show, when she show when you buy they don't give you the difference. You know, once you get them, you know in past if you lost they reply back, they reapply back for you for me to get another. So it's free for them. Then they move around. You know, so now under the municipality, you know, they're not to generate income actually, not social service for the people there. You see, so one thing they are actually, you know, they when I get the idea and like how Mr. Mengot become an expert in the area, I don't know how far, but I believe in that corruption, now it don't overtake all of the sectors they are today. Because even for make the municipal generate income today, government want for come in there, for come play a role. You see, so everything not politicized. Yeah, the mayor of London, now Labour idea, Sidikan, not to Republican, and not to but they work with the police, you get the police, you get the transport system, they work well because they do it for the people there. You see, until they vote them back in. So you don't say because not to a party a day for now. So then therefore they say, oh, you know, if you this, you know, support. No. There's no cater for them people. Now this will lack everything are politics, you know.
Okay.
So that's
I hate for interrupt, but we'll get some callers.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. We appreciate your calls and your suggestions, and I hope the other listeners then hear what you say. Hello, caller. What's your name? What's how you call from?
Thanks a lot. We appreciate your calls and your suggestions.
Okay, please turn your system down. Call your system down. The echo. There we go.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, caller. You coming loud and clear.
I call from how they do. Now thank you for what they do.
Thank you, ma'am.
I call from Seattle, Washington.
Okay, welcome.
Right, thank you. The system na salon don't broke. There's nothing waiting UNICEF they do for improve, for bring awareness of waiting they take place in the country. It make a lot of sense what una they do now they can't sit down they talk, but nowhere no they will they turn for help. Nobody not get for would they listen to una. But waiting at the solution. Waiting una inputs where una they make. Now they bring awareness of what they take place in the country. What in our contribution for make a difference. The system done broken, and where done broke, and if you say anything they for do, way for turn things around. Some of who don't left that country there for like forever. Who there? Would they watch una every day? How we go back? We want go. There's no place like home. It broke me heart for see how we country they depreciate every day. Sometimes they even feel embarrassed for saying that you're not Sierra Leonean of what they take place there, because leaders they're not there for we, they're there for themselves, from the president down to the mayor. Then they can't do it for themselves. Some of them leaders they don't there abroad for over 20, 30 years. Where they not even get a bicycle seat there, as they elect them to them power, to them position they are. You hearing some of them, they build 5 houses then they build hotels then they build this and they build that. Then forget about waiting the country, waiting the people then vote for them for. The country don't they be in. Look the school system. Look the marketplace. Look Bombay market. And they watch YouTube vloggers them. And they see the market. If you sit down at that place, they then cook that food there. If you don't sit down for hungry for 1 year, and if you say you go eat, you go feel for eat them food then they. Waiting then they do na the country, waiting then they do with the money, where the revenue, waiting at the revenue, what the money they bring come for can help the country. They're not they help anything. Then come for can enrich themselves. Look, somebody like Alpha, whatever his name is, where been they talk against Bio because of atomic president. Now minister of something. The man have been cab driver now. See the way you go there in the next 6 months. You go reach Alpha, whatever his name is. That they can build a hotel, then they can build houses. Them. What about the mass system? What about the country? Why would they elect the same people them? Where then they can't enrich themselves? Everybody will come. Nobody not get the interest of the country. Waiting una yon take go do for make a difference in this country. Una they do very well for bring awareness of waiting they take place in our country. Waiting una go do. Usa una go turn. Now me young question this. And the judicial system is suck. I get case where I don't transfer my case back and forth for the past 8 years. Nobody know they listen to me. I don't can work all the jobs now I do. I bill us with the man, then take everything. The court system not they even look at me. You go bribe them 2,000, then they take it and they sit down at the case. Now you case. So I'm not surprised where APC say they're not gonna court. No, because the system is broken. Who's how would they go? Thank you very much for taking me call on. Thank you for what Una they do. God bless Una.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mengot, somebody wrote, you've been quiet, you are the expert. They like to hear from you. So can we take one more call and then you say, in fact, look at it again. Mr. Mengot, please say something. You are the expert. So can we
let's take the call, then I will do an round up.
All right, good. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's how you call from? Hello, caller. Hello.
Hey, Mr. Chidon, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm calling from Virginia. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't know the local council app, the local government app, where people they go to. An office says the power for raising revenue has been taken away from the local government. No. Because with the pay property tax to city councils. Me property, they just we assess and we are paying to them. Which mean no, I don't know if you guys have read the local council act. I get property now Freetown, I get property in upland. I know say the local government is still making money. And I get one or two business then when I power share where they do some gold. I'm still a local council where they are the area, they are still taxing my machine. So I don't feel say this local government act takes power from the local government for raising revenue. And again, I heard somebody talking about the school system. There's no chalk. I believe say if there's any school that there's no chalk for teaching a student, rather than blaming government, rather than blaming mayor, it is the responsibility of the principals, and the headmasters. Because that's the reason why they are giving school subsidies. School subsidies are paid for jobs and other things. Depend on the amount of students you register and any are subsidy to you. So I think it's about individual attitude at salon. I'm not calling to defend government, I'm not calling to defend any individual, but it's about individual who are attitude at salon. People are not saying what they talk, right? But a lot of things which we assume that's not how salon is operating. Like just a lady who just went off is accusing Alpha Side Bangura. He says he's a minister. Hey, but Alpha Side Bangura is not a minister. I have never been a minister.
No.
I don't say you have never been a minister. That man has just the other Ministry of Information. That's just a special unit with them. That man. Yeah, let's say people are building hotels. Of course, people have to. If somebody was genuinely for money, why not developing country? So there's a lot of things and people are talking because of politics. So I know all when we open our mouth, we begin to talk something. We know which perspective we are coming from. But is that the way Salon bad? The way we are painting it? No. But I call proposal for say local government act, take powers from any local government. City council, not take power from any local government, city council for raise revenue. And empower them and voting them for raise revenue. But when they raise the revenue, the local government minister is just supervising. If local government minister not supervise, who else will supervise those local councils? So that's all that is supervised road they need. Not anything from the councils. I will call back.
All right, thank you very much. Very quickly, then I'm going to make Mr. Mengo to address that. The Local Government Act indeed takes away power from the City Council. The City Council raises taxes, but they are not allowed to spend without the okay of the central government. And in fact, the City Council cannot raise taxes without the central government agreeing, without the consent of the central government. It never used to be like that. Before the war, the old days, City Council are the highest authority. They were government by themselves. They did not need to be supervised. They get their own checks and balances. Just like you work also, the city where you did, whatever, if now this country you did, there is no city government that is accountable to the state or even the federal government. They get their own checks and balances. They are the government. So City Council, Freetown, district councils, they used to operate like that. The war came, things got interrupted, but then we jump into something else instead of going back to the way things used to be. So I just want to address that very quickly because we're almost out of time. May I make Mr. Mengo go ahead and making comments?
Yeah, I mean, going back to just a quick one, going back to what he's talking about, the Local Government Act and everything. Before, we never had a Ministry of Local Government. We had Ministry of Interior. And under Ministry of Interior, the people that we've been dealing have been like the DCs, you've been getting the senior district officer, the DOs and the SDOs.
And the
So
provincial
local government
commissioners.
and the provincial commissioners. Local governments were autonomous bodies. So let's get that clear. And so let me leave that, and we don't overstretch with time.
Yes.
And we'll say to the callers that now the third part of this program we want to do. Now we issues to deal with international partnership, and we hope say we will continue with that because we will get more information on that because right now the United Nations General Assembly will convene very soon, and there are lots of issues that will come up. So by next program we will make one of the main topics, so we're not going to disappoint you now, for look at the bilateral and multilateral relationship and how we government they deal with partners and how they react to all the other people. Now, just to round up, the lady who called and say, well, we actually talk a lot of things here and how would they help? I can tell her, as I can say, salt not the presence of na soup. But within we review, as we know, there are lots of issues that they raise in this platform where government they react to positively, not negatively. They are listening to what we're saying, and government is taking into account what we're doing. So at least we are making an impact. In the basis, yes, Mr. Shillon is far older than me. And in fact, we for be privileged for getting at this ripe old age, for let us spend the hours here with we, but me I still the go ahead. And my own direct involvement in Sierra Leone now on public transport reform, and I will get a special program for show my own particular contribution as a transport professional, working with government and how for improve transport in Sierra Leone. Soon we will get some very brand new modern bus system where I will like for share the idea. So some of we contribute, albeit remotely, but I can tell the listeners that I say in the past 2 years in 3 years, from 2017 to 2022, I've made well over 7 or more trips to Sierra Leone, some of which involve changing the system, reviewing structures, and empowering transport operators. So with that, I don't get much for say. We thank you very much for listening. We are happy with this interaction with you. We could have done more, but we hope so you get a productive week and an accident-free week because me as a road safety man. And we hope for joining we next week. And I will hand over now to my co-host as I say, Tata.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mengot. I will say no more. I think until next week, thanks for listening. Please tune in next Sunday, same time. Have a nice week. Goodbye.